Good morning. Welcome to Media Evolution. My name is Hildreth. I do research and curation for Media Evolution. I'll be your moderator today. Thank you for joining us on a Friday morning to talk about the futures of wise cities. This is a topic that is near and dear to our heart, and it was the topic of our latest collaborative foresight cycle. And this is the final seminar of that collaborative foresight cycle. And the seminar and the cycle is organized as part of DigitHub Sweden, which is an initiative that helps companies and the public sector in southern Sweden to digitize. The initiative is co-funded by the European Union, hence the flag. Did you guys see the flag? Here you go. Are you ready for the American to try? Region Blekinge. No? Maybe? Okay. Region Kroneborg. No? That's awful. Region Kronoberg. Region Skåne. And Vinnova. Thank you, guys. So I want to start today by talking about palimpsests. And palimpsests are manuscripts or documents that have been erased or scraped clean for the reuse of the paper or the parchment or the vellum if they're very old, or any other medium on which something was written. And so this is the Guelpherbittinus palimpsest, which is from the 6th century. This is the New Testament of the Bible, which is written in Greek. The black is in Greek. And there are slight red letters underneath. And those are actually Latin text from Isidore of Seville's Origins, and actually some of his personal letters. Palimpsests became a popular metaphor for humanistic or human-centered geography in the late 70s. A geographer named Donald Meinig called a landscape at once a panorama, a composition, a palimpsest, a microcosm. In every prospect, there can be more and more that meets the eye. Now, manuscripts and maps and architectural drawings and the system architecture diagrams and the schema that are behind cities all help us make quantifiable sense of present and past place. They can show us the multitude of complex and heterogeneous, multifaceted and interrelated layers that inform how we envision our systems, past, present, and future, including our future places, like cities. These maps quantify and define and categorize with a focus on a place being constructed rather than places being lived in and experienced by a multitude of inhabitants, human and non-human alike. Dennis Jeans found the exact words for this constructing perspective when he said, "To make a place is to surround a locality with human meanings." And unlike palimpsests, places like cities can't be rubbed smooth or wiped clean. So the palimpsest gets one more tweak as a metaphor. Ivan Mitten created the term of a cultural palimpsest. A conceptual model of a place is a multi-layered structure that emphasizes the coexistence of multiple visions and impacts of different cultures. Coexistence. Multiple visions, impacts of different cultures, quantified and qualified. These are the layers with which we work and upon which our future places are built, on top of our pasts, including bits and pieces that we don't use or see anymore. So how do we make sense or find meaning in all those layers we're envisioning in our future cities? What are the layers of this future city, the multiple visions that have to coexist? How do we sift through them to keep what serves us well? Who gives them meaning? The speaker last year, one of our keynote speakers last year, named Carolyn Steele, is an architect, and she's the author of books called Zootopia and Hungry City. And she used this physical gesture to show how humans make a good life. So, if this is a human, and this is the world, then this is what a good life looks like. This is Carolyn's gesture. It's a mapping. It's multiple touch points. It's making meaning through encountering the world directly, a sort of one-on-one understanding of things like place, belonging, time, nourishment, movement, community. And so we encounter the world and make meaning through our senses directly. We started this collaborative foresight cycle by posing the simple question, what does a wise city look like in southern Sweden in 2050? Again, the emphasis on seeing. What does it look like? But according to Meinig, who first described landscapes as palimpsest, the more you look, the more you see. We also encounter the world through sensors and feedback loops and artificial intelligences as machines encounter us in our lived experiences in urban environments. And they encounter the movements and nourishment and time and place and belonging of our critter kin. Now, sense also means good judgment, wisdom, prudence. Sensibility means sensitivity, sympathy or emotionality, empathy. So as we sift through layers of sense and sensor feedback in our future places, will we continue to map onto the world in a one-on-one relationship, encountering it directly to find a good life? And how do we do that with sense and sensibility? Now, according to the UN, today, 55% of the world's population live in urban areas. And this is actually in 2018, so that number's gone up. A proportion that's expected to increase to 68% by 2050. So roughly 2 out of every 3rd person is going to be living in a city on the planet. That's a lot of visions and cultures and data layers coexisting. So how do we design our future cities to handle this massive assemblages of human and machine and ecological intelligences so that they coexist? Or should they? What frictions occur between them when new layers are added? Now, friction is typically understood as something that occurs when 2 objects or bodies meet, and the greater the number of entities introduced into a system, the greater the friction. Reducing friction for the sake of ease and efficiency and equitable access, common thread in the future cities scenarios that our core groups developed during the cycle, which we'll talk about later. We're working on one of these future scenarios, which was based on hive mind and consensus. A community critique said, we believe in the positive potential of friction and confrontation. Now, friction produces movement and action and effect. It's a wheel on a road or 2 sticks rubbed together to make fire. The American anthropologist Anna Tsing describes friction as a realm where unexpected alliances arise, remaking global possibilities. So could introducing the concept of desirable fiction into our cultural palimpsest be the answer to a healthy coexistence and growth, adaptation, regeneration of multiple visions and impacts of different cultures? We know by now that our machines and the machine intelligence layers aren't any more neutral than our human layers are. And as the layers of our future cities continue to build, how do we continue to make meaning with the connections we can't see are being made or unmade with accountability and transparency and trust, all while maintaining a healthy tension between and amongst them so that new tools and alliances emerge between the actors mapping and encountering their urban space? So this is the final seminar of our collaborative foresight cycle on the futures of wise cities. It's a topic we've wanted to dive into more deeply because it's come up often in conversations with Media Evolution members. It's also a nod to the upcoming Copenhagen in Common and Malmö in the Making, beginning in September of 2023. The broad community contributed trends and signals and offered us critiques in several future scenarios that were developed by a core group of contributors through 4 immersive workshops. And these core contributors imagined, developed, and revised a series of possible, alternative, and preferable futures for southern Swedish cities in 2050. This cycle, we had a core group of members made up from 11 different countries, many cities, made up of designers, city planners, architects, UX researchers, software engineers, landscape architects, real estate developers, academics, and artists. If you were in the core group, would you mind raising your hand if you're in the room? Thank you for being here. Now, that unique layering of experiences and expertise in our core group and with our broader community at a discrete moment in time is why we do collaborative foresight. We see future leadership as based on this ability to come together understand how to sift through the trends and signals and see more and more of what's possible, probable, potential, of those landscapes, so that we can backcast and come up with a plan to act on them now. And the flexibility of collaborative foresight means that it can be applied in a range of ways. Futures thinking, strategic foresight, or other names, but we do something called collaborative foresight as a means to keep the entire process open, because we've heard a need for more capacity and more connections in futures thinking from our community around a range of topics. This helps future-proof profits or revenues by better understanding and evaluating disruptions before they happen, or you could take a leading voice in narrating the future of a specific sector or industry, create internal knowledge and a process for learning about unfolding possibilities around cities or anything else. You can make teams more proactive and resilient, and engage more voices to create a diverse vision for the future. Part of our openness and the collaborative foresight process is to publish the outputs of each topic in each cycle. And this time we'll be doing so, releasing a book at the conference. Here you see the 3 publications that have been the result of the previous 3 collaborative foresight cycles on AI and sustainability, the futures of cultural and creative expression, and the futures of behavior design for well-being. These each feature future scenarios as envisioned by a core group, and then we have commentaries from authors near and far as part of our community, previous speakers from our conference. And this year, the book on the futures of wise cities includes commentary from Indy Johar, Dan Hill, Joseph Conning, and Carolyn Steele. So you can find and take copies of the most recent book outside. And the last cycle included a commentary on cities from a persuasive and well-being perspective. So we carry on the theme. And many of these themes come up at the conference, which we delve into more deeply. I hope you'll be joining us on August 29th and 30th of this year. Likewise, this year we're going to dedicate a session to each of our foresight cycle topics, including this one. And this is where we will be releasing the book for the Futures of Wise Cities.